Honourable Todd McClay.
Mr Chair, thank you very much. I want to take a brief call here because I know other members also want to speak on this part of the bill, and really just to say this too is a very important part. This is what the public are probably most interested in. At least they're going to see on day one what changes this Parliament's about to make. And firstly, it's going to be these products won't be available to people under the age of 18. I think probably the evidence is becoming clearer on a daily basis that anybody that takes many of these products are being harmed. But I do know from speaking to parents and particularly mothers around the country over the last few weeks the significant harm that seems to be caused to young people through addiction, through withdrawal, through all sorts of other horrible things we wouldn't wish upon any family at all. So on day one, no under 18s will be able to possess these, have them sold to them, and I think that's very important. The secondly is where people will get hold of them. And so there will be restrictions, very strict restrictions around availability. And we've heard other members speak in the debate earlier, so no more dairies, no petrol stations. There's a very exhaustive list, and I think the committee's done a good job here in helping define where these products cannot be sold. Importantly also, there's some rules around labelling. And so for any product that is approved, they will have to have clear information on them. And Mr Chairman, yesterday in Dannevirke, a mother gave me a 6-week supply of the empty packets of this product that her young son had been consuming. And these are the ones she could find, and there were probably 70 packets. And she told a heartbreaking story of how a bright young man who was very engaged in the school, a good academics unit, who loved sport, his life had changed so very quickly, and he sold everything and stole everything and couldn't stop this. And sadly, when that mother went down to the dairy to tell the man, who didn't really know he was doing anything wrong, of the harm that was being caused, there was a suggestion that the boy owed $45 and the mum should stump up. Well, actually, quite quickly, the dairy owner realised the harm when he spoke to others and when it apologised, and that community is now working through that as a community. But on one of these products, a young man talked, it says, not for human consumption. Do not purchase if your health is impaired in any shape or form. Do not purchase if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. Keep the product out of the reach of children, restricted to adults over the age of 18. And that's it. That's all that's on there. And that's just absolutely frightening. So we will ensure through this legislation that adequate labelling is there, with health warnings, with information about where to get help, but also about who's importing, the manufacturer, who's distributing. That's going to help the Ministry of Health keep an eye on these products, but it's also going to help the consumer. There's also restrictions around promotion, and here's another one. I won't mention the name because, you know, these guys have had enough promotion as it is. But it says on here, for a limited time only, send 10 empty of these packets to the such and such address in the country with your name and return address details, and we'll send you 2 grams of this product free. Well, it's not actually free because it's doing harm, so that won't be possible either. So these are very important rules that we're putting in place. Mr Speaker, Mr Chairman, one of the important areas we're giving local communities a greater say through this part of the bill is an extra tool for local councils, should they wish, individually or collectively, to place further restrictions upon availability. And this is, again, certainly the government, but the committee and the Parliament backing local communities to have a bigger say. And I think all over the country we now see communities speaking up on this issue, and local governments, and not only because it's election time for them, mayors deciding that actually we need to do something about it and they need to do something about it, and I would expect there will be these restriction orders consulted on and put into place quite widely, and that's appropriate because this is about local people. Finally, Mr Chairman, I have an SOP that I've introduced today, and I apologise to the House that it's so late, but I was in the hard-working Member of Parliament Eric Roy's electorate last night at a public meeting, and can I say in Invercargill a couple of hundred people turned up and they were passionate and they were angry. But the anger wasn't directed at this House or the government, it was at the people that have been harming their community and their desire to do something about it. And they made a case that actually made me come back and question officials, and in consultation with parties in the House, we've reached agreement. And so what this SOP does is in the schedule, it says that where a product is currently on the market, an application for that product, if it's currently possible to sell it, so it's not illegal, an application for an approval can be made and can be granted on a temporary basis. And it says that as soon as practicable after the date on which the regulations, Mr Chairman, and which the regulation on this area around the type of testing that will be needed comes into effect, information will be given, or no later than 18 months after the regulations come into force, they must come forward and they must present their full application. Well, I think that's far too long for the mother whose son took these 70-odd products, and so in agreement I am moving an SOP that says that within 3 months, not 18 months, within 3 months of the entering into force of the regulations, anybody that wants a temporary application must come forward with detailed information, some clinical information, so we can have greater certainty about what's in these products. And I would hope we can apply a precautionary approach, a precautionary principle to this, because this House wants, and we've put on record to the importers, we want these dangerous products off our streets and out of our shops and away from our young people, and therefore this will give us the ability to ensure that any product that an importer or manufacturer wants to bring to market is as safe as it can be, and that they're taking their responsibility seriously, and that they are doing the studies and the tests that our expert committee says are appropriate, and where they're not, we will have the ability to take it away. If they can't do that within 3 months, then they're not serious about reducing harm. They don't deserve to be able to sell, to peddle this muck to our young people. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Lewis Wall.
Mr Chair, it's my pleasure to speak to Part 3.